I feel good during the 6 minutes. I did one step back and one step forward. When I push forward, I feel a rupture on my ankle.
Koscielny is in some distress here. This is worrying.
The way he went down and his hand went up in the air and he put his head down towards the floor, I knew straight away that this was a serious injury.
When word got back to us that it was his Achilles, the seriousness of it became pretty apparent.
My game is over, my season is over, and the World Cup is over. I look around me because I thought it was someone who kicked me. When I saw nobody was around me at 1 meter, I felt like I did something very bad. I talked 2-3 weeks before with Francis Coquelin, and he had the same injury as me, and he told me it's like a knife who cut your Achilles. So I feel the same.
For the majority of injuries, I don't run onto the pitch with the physio because you know the injury is not too severe. But on this one, we went straight on, and as soon as we got to Laurent, he wasn't screaming in pain, but there was a worse cry, which was a cry of fear, of frustration, of anxiety, of anguish.
We have communications on the field, so we pretty much knew within a minute or so that it was a pretty serious injury.
Laurent was in significant pain, and he said to me, he kicked me. Diego Costa came to us and tapped me on the shoulder and said, I did not kick him, I heard a snap. The fact that there was an audible snap on the pitch and that there was no one near him just indicated that this was a serious injury and one that hadn't been caused by a foul.
The pain, it's 0 to 10, it's 11. You don't feel your calf. The pain came from your foot to all your body.
Compared to a fracture or a fracture dislocation, the pain tends to be intense, severe, but it's relatively transient.
The physio and the doc are really experienced at communicating in the appropriate way to the player, just to let him know, look, that the game's over and it doesn't look great, but we'll take you back into the rooms and have a good look at it.
Once we got into the dressing room, he wasn't on gas and air. The pain then became one of reflection and the pain of what the implications of this injury were. There are many injuries that are very difficult to diagnose straight away. I'm afraid in this case it's relatively easy to diagnose. There is a simple test. You lay the player on his front and you do a squeeze of the calf, and if you've seen one before, you will never forget. Once you do this test, you squeeze the calf and there is no response from the ankle and there is no flexion or extension at the ankle joint, it is diagnostic. I knew straight away that the Achilles had ruptured, and in a way, Laurent knew as well without me having to tell him.
I saw the face of the doc and I knew directly it's finished, and it's really what I think about. It's a rupture of my Achilles.
The first question for any injury a player says is, how long am I going to be out? So as soon as an injury as severe as this happens, it flushes in your mind, you start to prepare. We knew this would be the first thing that Laurent would say. I didn't really need to go into the details. It was all too apparent for me, but way more for him, that this was going to affect his World Cup. That was the problem.
It's a good ball. Diego Costa, he could be in here. Atleti have the advantage.
There were 3 or 4 of us in the dressing room. Laurent is lying on the bed, close to tears. It was an extremely emotional moment. The half-time whistle went, and suddenly all the players come in. The level of endearment and respect and love for Laurent was apparent straight away. All the players came over, there was lots of hugs. And then the team went off for the team talk. I stayed with Laurent, and then there was a very emotional moment when one of the players from the opposition came in, and it was Antoine Griezmann. He literally walked in and he went over and he put his arm around him. The two of them had a fond embrace, even a cuddle, and it was a prolonged one. Griezmann didn't say to me, "How bad is this?" They looked at each other and they almost knew what the implications were. I think that made a big impression on Laurent. He knew not only that he was cared for and loved within the dressing room, but also that people outside were all thinking of him and were all caring about what was going to happen next, whilst also being aware that this was probably the end of his World Cup.
It's a really unfortunate part of the job is to talk to athletes just after their season's ending because of injury, even their careers ending because of injury. But you try and be as empathetic as you possibly can, knowing that everyone knows the risks of playing professional sport, that could come about. It was just the timing for Laurent which was most unfortunate. A, because we had a big game coming up the next week at the Emirates, and B, for him personally, you know, the World Cup where he was going to play his last game for France would have ultimately been the World Cup final.
For me, I was just injured. I felt like, okay, maybe 2-3 weeks after you can come back. But on the Friday, I did the scan, and we had confirmation at 100%. I had a rupture. I never thought about quitting football, stop my career. I have 33 years old. My career is more behind me than in front.
With Laurent, you just know that he's one of those players that will be able to get through this injury. He's so philosophical about the risks involved in playing professional sport. And one of the first things he said to me afterwards was, look, I haven't had too many injuries in my time, so perhaps my time was up, but I'll be back.
For me, it's a good time, you know, to realize the good life I have, to work, you know, harder than before, you know, to come back stronger, because I want to play again at the top level.
The fundamental issue with an Achilles tendon rupture is that you have split the tendon that links the heel bone to the hugely powerful muscles of the back of the calf, the gastrocnemius and the soleus, two hugely powerful muscles that allow you to sprint. But actually, the principle of surgery is relatively straightforward. You need to make a small incision, open up the skin, find the two ends of the tendon, put them together, oppose them nicely, and stitch them so that they fix together very, very strongly. Now, it sounds very simple, but actually for a sprinter, which Laurent is, hugely powerful, a guy who can reach 9.4, 9.5 meters per second sprinting, to actually get the two ends together so that they don't overlap too much and they don't sit too far apart is very, very tricky. What you don't want to lose is a little bit of the flexion or the extension at the ankle joint and therefore lose a little bit of pace. So although in principle it's a very straightforward operation, it takes a surgeon of extreme skill and experience to make sure that the edges are opposed just in the right way to make sure that this player does not lose any of his capacity when he returns from rehabilitation. His first 2 weeks after surgery was in London. Very, very important time post-operation. Make sure that the swelling, that the wound, no risks of infection, that is managed very, very carefully with ourselves and the surgeons. Once you move out of that period, the rehabilitation becomes a little less risky, incredibly carefully coordinated, but for Laurent's family, for his children, for everybody else, it was better for him to be away from London.
We decided to send him to St Raphael, which is it's a beautiful part of France, and it's a rehab facility that a lot of top French players have used. There's a very experienced French physiotherapist who we liaise with quite regularly with our physios and our doctor and myself to help oversee the initial part of the rehab. The other great advantage for that is obviously the disappointment for Laurent in missing out on the World Cup was offset by the fact that he could spend a lot more time in a place like that with his family. His family were with him the whole time, so it was the correct decision to let him spend a fair bit of time down there.
Waouh, on les brûle?
what people on the outside don't see and what people just don't realise is how hard it is to recover mentally, just as much as physically, from an operation like this. The player, for the first 2 weeks, cannot walk and actually is advised to stay in bed, keep the leg up, cannot move. All the while, your muscles are wasting in your joints and your legs, and the power and the prowess that you had slowly seeps away. And mentally, that is very, very draining.
Beaucoup trop grand le pas, Laurent, là. Beaucoup trop grand. Voilà. Allez, super, voilà, ça c'est mieux. Allez.
Once you then start to come back, this injury in particular is such a slow process that to keep motivated and to become determined and driven every day, to do at the start really mundane, boring, dull, repetitive exercises that you can't really see the progression from, is hugely frustrating for athletes who have played at the highest level. And the way that Laurent responded was absolutely first class. We couldn't have asked for any more.
Pousse bien sur le pied, engage-toi bien. Parfait. Bien bas sur la cuisse, parfait. Ouais. Ouais. Allez, voilà, encore.
One of the things with Laurent in this particular injury is he relies on his pace a lot. He's a very quick, a deceptively quick player. So the biggest challenge that we have is to try and return his speed to his Achilles, because the Achilles, it stores a lot of elastic energy and it's largely responsible for a lot of your speed. So what this injury has enabled us to do is actually make his Achilles stronger and more durable than probably what it was before. And having a little bit of time out from the game and from the regular exposure of jumping and sprinting and tackling that Laurent does, it may actually help him. Now, we don't know that yet. It's still too early to tell, but I'm pretty confident, just like Laurent is, that he'll come back even better and more resilient than when he left us.
Solide, c'est parfait. Que pied gauche, que pied gauche, que pied gauche.
Occasionally it would be quiet for a few days when Laurent was in San Rafael, and suddenly, a couple of days later, my phone would go crazy with WhatsApp images or little snippets of him running up a step, or bounding in a swimming pool, or pushing a different measure on his isokinetic machine. And the buzz that the player would get from that shows you just why these guys are so competitive. During periods like this, it's not scoring a goal or doing a great header or getting a great result that gives them the drive. But the reason these players get to such high levels is that they can find levels of competitiveness that drive them through each process of their life.
Allez, 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 allez.
A lot of people say, okay, you went to San Rafael, the south of France, and sunny day, and you enjoy your holiday. But for me, it was not holiday. Every week I train with 2 sessions. They give me just weekend off, so I could enjoy with my family the weekend. But during 2 months and a half, 10 of June to 20 of August, I train 5 days in a week.
Allez Laurent, ouais, super. Ouais, un peu plus longue la foulée, c'est parfait.
When you are fit, you have a lot of friends and a lot of people who love you and everything. And when you are injured, you are all these people, you know, forget you. But it's nice because me, I don't forget, and I can realize which people are with me and love me. So it's important as well, you know, for my life to know about this.
Je vous ai fait passer une lettre de Laurent Koscielny, comme vous le savez, qui s'est gravement blessé, qui lui a connu 2014-2016. Prenez le temps de lire, il y a beaucoup de mots qui sont importants par rapport à l'état d'esprit. Hein. La vérité, c'est le terrain, mais c'est comment on y va et ensemble.
Il nous a écrit une lettre là, pour nous dire, en gros, j'ai pas fini, hein, mais que c'est important de bien vivre ensemble et d'être un groupe au-delà d'une somme d'individualité.
Message fort.
Ouais, grave.
No stage during the rehab process did I ever hear him complain or say what if and start feeling sorry for himself. But when you came to the build-up of the World Cup final and the World Cup final itself, it's so hard for us who became very, very close not to feel for him in those occasions.
I received a phone call from the coach of France. He told me, yeah, the president of France wants to invite you with another player to the final. At the beginning, I was not very exciting because that was a mixed feelings. After talking with my family and friends, it was a good idea to be with the team.
I know he was there, and I know he was in the changing rooms. Yet again, he just put on such an amazing show of support to his teammates. And again, I believe that's one of the reasons he's the captain of the club.
I will not say I was exciting at 100% because it was difficult, you know, to be there with them. But I was very happy for the team, for what they achieved together.
He's very happy, he's a proud Frenchman, so he's very happy that they won, but I think he does realise that it was an opportunity that probably won't come around again. Some players with a lesser character would have been a lot more mixed emotions and maybe hoping France didn't do so well, but that's not the case with Laurent. He's absolutely delighted that they won.
France win, and so for that I was very happy. After, my feelings was a little bit different because I was sad about not to be with them in the squad. I was with them in the dressing room to celebrate the trophy, but it's different.
Yes!
I will remember all my life because I didn't win the World Cup, but it's life. You have something bad and something good, and this one was bad, but I need to live with this.
It's not a very easy thing to say this, but actually an enforced period of recuperation and rehabilitation can actually make a player extend his career, can actually make a player concentrate on areas of the game that potentially could have been improved. His speed, his pace, his agility, his endurance. So whilst we can't say for certain he'll come back, all our markers at the moment, there is no deficit there whatsoever at this stage. And in fact, in certain areas, he is looking stronger. His attitude is so positive, we are also positive. There is no reason to believe whatsoever that he can't become at least the player he was, if not better.
Laurent's exactly on the path that we wanted him to be. He's hitting all of his GPS metrics. He's also hitting all of his testing and strength scores. So right now we couldn't be happy with his progress across all of the metrics that we collect.
You miss everything. You miss the love you can have with your teammates. You miss the pitch. You miss all the conversation you can have with your teammates, you know, during your treatment or during the gym session. For a football player and collective sports, it's important, you know, to get back with your teammates because you live with them as well. And if you want to be better and happy, it's with them you can be.
Angle and back.
At no stage at all did I doubt him. He's come in with boundless sort of energy and enthusiasm and got a great sense of humour throughout it. And with those players, you know that they're going to be able to make it through the other end in even better shape. Of course, there have been some down days, but 95% of the time he's been an absolute pleasure to work with for the physios and fitness staff as a group.
There's no way I would ever have doubted it, right from the first moments when he was at the lowest of low ebbs to the first few moments after surgery. He's always been able to have a little bit of a smile, but he has never, ever said to me at any stage, I can't face this, I don't want to put up with it, I can't keep going with this level of rehabilitation. Every question is, can I do more? Can I push more? Can I go do this? Can I do that? It has never been a concern that he wasn't going to make it back.
And recovery up.
You are a better person, you are a better man. I talk with a lot of players who had some injured like me or for a knee, so it's like 6 months. And they told me, you miss a lot football, and when you came back, you are so hungry. You want to eat everything. You want to go on the pitch and just enjoy and just happy with what you can do on the pitch. And this is a real thing, you know, I have in me. I'm hungry to play again football and to play with my teammates. So I don't think the people who say, yeah, after a big injury, you are less stronger than before. I think you are more mentally stronger than any people who didn't have an injury like you had.
His resilience is outstanding. His commitment to come back and play for Arsenal, not for anybody else, is absolutely top drawer. So that's been a nice revelation for me to fully appreciate how much he loves playing for this club and how much he wants to get back and play for us.
What this has shown me is that he is a hugely driven athlete, incredibly powerful, and his determination has set standards in the dressing room for everyone else to aspire to. But actually, I think one of the great things that helps him get over the devastation of this is that he has a life outside football, that his wife and his children are the most important thing to him. And actually, during a process like this, that is so important. You come in, you work really hard, you drive yourself, you push yourself, but you have to be able to get away from things and switch off. And I think he's an amazing father as well, and getting away with his family has also helped him recover.
The whole performance team will be pretty excited when he plays that first game, because it's a real buzz for us all, particularly the guys that have worked with him quite closely, to see him come through those really sort of dark days, particularly for him. To be honest, I can't imagine a worse scenario for a player like Laurent to go out. He announced that it was his final World Cup. He would have captained the team. They won the World Cup. They certainly would have won it with him. So for him to get back playing with the club that he loves is going to be a real exciting time for all of us.
It will be a special moment for me because it will be the end of the tunnel for my rehab. It will be finished when I will walk my first step on the pitch. And I'm waiting for this moment. I don't ask to have something special, but just to enjoy this moment. For me, it will be the best trophy to play again with my teammates and to play again for this club.